Savannah Chrisley brings wife of prison inmate on show. Savannah Chrisley brought the wife of an inmate on the show. This shocked fans as the inmate is in with Todd Chrisley. The Chrisley family has been struggling a lot lately. However, there may be a light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to Julie Chrisley. Regardless, Savannah is going to continue to fight and advocate for her parents. Keep reading to find out more. Julie Chrisley gets resentencing. There may be some hope for Julie Chrisley. The court threw out her conviction because there was not enough evidence to support her sentencing. So this means she gets a resentencing hearing. This may allow her to get out on time served or at least get a lesser sentence. This is huge for the Chrisley family. Julie asked to attend the hearing via Zoom, but her request was denied. This worried her children as she was going to have to travel across the country shackled and with violent men. Regardless, this is something that could change their lives, and fans think they should be grateful for that. Savannah Chrisley brings inmate's wife on show. Savannah Chrisley brought Hannah Walker on her podcast. Her husband is in prison with Todd. They were talking about the justice system and all things legal. Fans were not having it with the discussion. First, I thought it was weird that they wouldn't say what Patrick was in for. I Googled and I'm sorry, but that woman gets zero sympathy from me. Taking COVID funds for their business to turn around and buy some fancy island. Give me a freaking break. Tell me why his ass doesn't belong there. The island is *wild*. It's nice to see someone being sentenced for something that was obviously a choice they knew was wrong, in all ways. Should throw them in the same jails as people who stole food for their kids, though. Birds of a feather. Lol, wow, I didn't even consider what he was locked up for. What a scam to try and get sympathy. An island? Lol, just wow. It seems that Savannah is trying her best to advocate for her parents. However, fans think bringing the wife on was not the best decision. Especially since her husband did something super wrong. Stealing money to build an island definitely deserves time in prison. However, Savannah is hopeful for getting her mother out early. Savannah Chrisley's podcast, Unlocked, had been a platform for real, raw, and often unfiltered conversations since its inception. But nothing could have prepared Savannah or her loyal listeners for the emotional roller coaster of her latest episode, featuring a special guest, the wife of a prison inmate. Her decision to bring this guest on the show was inspired by Savannah's own deeply personal journey, with her parents Todd and Julie Chrisley both serving prison sentences, an experience that has shaken her family to its core. The episode, titled Love Behind Bars, opened with Savannah's usual warmth, but there was a palpable heaviness in the air. This was a topic Savannah felt deeply about, and the gravity of the situation made it one of the most anticipated episodes of her podcast. As the intro music faded, Savannah's voice came through, more serious than usual. Hey guys, welcome back to Unlocked. Today's episode is one that I've been looking forward to for a while, but I won't lie, it's also been really hard to prepare for. You all know how much my family has been going through with my mom and dad being in prison, but today we're going to talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough: the people who are left behind. The families, the loved ones, the partners. Today, I'm sitting down with someone who knows all too well what it means to love someone who's behind bars. Savannah paused, letting her words sink in. Her guest, Amanda, was introduced. She was a soft-spoken woman in her late 30s, dressed modestly, but there was a quiet strength about her. Amanda's husband, Mark, was serving a 15-year sentence for a white-collar crime, eerily similar to Todd Chrisley's circumstances. Thank you so much for being here, Amanda, Savannah began, reaching across the table to take her guest's hand. I can't imagine how hard it must be to talk about something so personal, but I think it's so important to give people like you a voice. Amanda smiled, though it was clear she carried a heavy burden. "Thank you for having me, Savannah. It's been hard, but if my story can help someone else, then it's worth it." Savannah's eyes filled with empathy. "I know exactly what you mean. We've been living a similar nightmare over the past year, and it changes everything. But I want to hear your story. How did you and Mark meet? And how did you get through the trial and his sentencing?" Amanda took a deep breath before launching into her story. She explained how she and Mark had met in college, fallen in love, and built a life together. He had always been ambitious, working in finance, and they had 2 beautiful children. But everything came crashing down when Mark was arrested for fraud. The trial had been a grueling process, and when the guilty verdict came down, Amanda's world shattered. "I felt like I was living in a nightmare," Amanda said, her voice wavering. "One day, everything was normal, and the next, my husband was ripped away from me and our children. The hardest part has been trying to keep life as normal as possible for the kids. They miss their dad so much, but I don't know how to explain to them why he's gone." Savannah nodded, wiping away a tear. "That's something I've struggled with too. My little brother, Grayson, and my niece, Chloe, they ask about Mom and Dad all the time, and it's so hard to know what to say." Amanda's voice grew stronger as she continued. "I've had to learn how to be both mom and dad. The loneliness is overwhelming at times. People don't understand what it's like to be married to someone who's incarcerated. There's this stigma. People think you're guilty by association or that you should just move on. But how do you move on when the person you love is still very much a part of your life?" Savannah leaned forward, her own experiences mirroring Amanda's words. "Exactly. It's like you're living in limbo. You don't want to give up on them, but at the same time, your life is moving forward, and they're stuck in a place where time seems to stand still." The conversation shifted to how Amanda managed to keep her relationship alive despite the distance and restrictions. "It's hard," Amanda admitted. "We talk on the phone, and I visit as often as I can, but it's not the same. There are days when I wonder if we'll ever be the same again. But then I remember why I married him, and I hold on to that." Savannah nodded again, deeply understanding. People forget that just because someone is in prison, it doesn't mean they stop being your family. They're still the person you love, and you can't just turn that off. The 2 women discussed the emotional toll it takes on families, the sleepless nights, the endless legal battles, and the fear of what comes next. But there were also moments of hope, moments when Amanda and Mark would talk about the future, about rebuilding their lives once he was released. Savannah shared how she found strength in her faith, often leaning on it to navigate the uncertainty. "I've had to grow up so fast," Savannah confessed. "I'm taking care of my siblings, running businesses, and trying to stay strong for my parents. But sometimes it just feels like too much." Amanda reached over, squeezing Savannah's hand. "You're not alone. There are so many of us out there going through the same thing. We're stronger together." As the episode began to wind down, Savannah took a deep breath, her voice filled with emotion. "If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that love doesn't end at the prison gates. Whether it's my parents or your husband, Amanda, we love them just as much today as we did before all of this happened. And we have to keep fighting, for them, for ourselves, and for the families we're holding together." Amanda smiled through her tears. "Exactly. And as hard as it is, we can't lose hope." The episode closed with Savannah thanking Amanda for her bravery and resilience, promising her listeners that they would continue to talk about the tough issues. "Thank you for listening," Savannah said softly. "And remember, no matter what you're going through, you're not alone." As the credits rolled, Savannah sat back in her chair, feeling the weight of the conversation. This was more than just a podcast episode. It was a lifeline for people like Amanda, and even for herself, reminding them that love and hope could survive even the darkest of times.